When Rachel Gunn took to the breaking arena at the Paris Olympics, she beamed with pride, completely decked out in Aussie green and gold. But her moment in the international spotlight quickly turned dark with a global pylon, a ferocious backlash she's still struggling to understand and recover from.
Representing Australia, Ray Gunn.
Viewers questioned why she was chosen.
Yes, Rachel didn't get a point.
You've seen
the
one
I'm talking about.
The athlete from Down Under that everyone is talking about and sure to be this year's most popular Halloween costume.
She showed some true Aussie spirit.
Suppose she had a crack.
Ray Gunn had a crack.
How are you feeling since your performance?
Did anyone see the breakdancing lady? It's so funny.
It was very cringy.
Cringy, yeah.
She is the best break dancer female that we have for Australia.
It's obviously hurting it.
I feel sorry for the athlete, and that should not happen in our world.
She feels, why are these people attacking me based on falsehood and mistruths?
It's frankly been pretty devastating.
Everybody in the club!
Ray Gunn, thanks very much for joining us. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride. I'm not going to lie. I definitely have my ups and downs, my good and bad days, but it has been honestly so amazing to see the positive response to my performance. Like, I never thought that I would be able to connect with so many people in such a positive way. So that has been just so amazing. But yeah, it definitely has been tough at times. Yeah.
Yeah, I can well imagine. How dark did it get for you?
Fortunately, I got some mental health support pretty quickly, and I also went off social media. I went off the internet, but it's pretty up and down, but it's also just hard to process it all, honestly. Like, it's just still pretty hard to process.
This became such a global storm. How much of it were you aware of?
Not a lot, actually, because as soon as I finished, my rounds, my media liaison from the AOC said, "Oh, there's a bit of a storm brewing on social media. You might want to go off socials." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't understand the scale of it. And then I did, preview some comments, and I was like, "Oh, no." And this kind of sick feeling started coming out. I was like, "Oh, goodness, what has happened?"
The immediate aftermath must have been hard. I mean, there's that famous footage of Australian journalists running after you while you're walking down the street.
Have you got a message for the people who've been writing stuff online, guys?
It must have been unlike anything you've ever experienced before.
Do you think people have been unfair about your performance?
What was that moment like?
That was really wild. So that was the next day. I was actually calling my media liaison going, "These people are chasing me, what do I do?" But that really did put me in a state of panic for a while after that. And I was quite nervous being out in public because I just didn't know what was safe, if anyone was going to recognise me, if, how they were going to respond to seeing me, and it was pretty nerve-wracking for a while there. Yeah.
I think the moment where I thought, okay, this is wild, this is now out of control, was when I saw the sketch on Jimmy Fallon. And it's just, wow.
You have to wonder where Ray Gunn is right now. Where's that music coming from?
What was going through your mind when that happened?
Mixed emotions, I think. Like, I don't know whether to, hug him or yell at him, because what a platform he ended up giving me, honestly. I haven't actually seen the sketch because I don't think I'm in a place yet to watch it, but I will watch it at some point. And, a few different people have kind of explained it to me and given me different takes on it. But I am still in the process of being able to describe how I feel about all this stuff, because it kind of feels like a really weird dream that I've been having that I'm going to wake up from at any moment. What is life right now?
What about the performance itself? Have you watched that back?
I haven't watched it back, no. That's not unusual for me, though. I'm not great at watching back my battles. It's been a month, Rachel. It's still going to take me some time, I think. I think I've seen little bits and pieces, but yeah, I'll watch it eventually.
You eventually did speak out about the backlash to your performance on a social media post.
I'm glad I was able to bring some joy into your lives. That's what I hoped. I didn't realise that that would also open the door to so much hate.
What did you have in mind there?
It was really sad how much hate that it did evoke. And a lot of the responses, though, is also just due to people not being very familiar with breaking and the diversity of approaches in breaking. And it was so fantastic that the next day the judging chair, MG, came out and explained that, you know, in the breaking community, what I did actually wasn't very shocking. You know, it's just a different approach in breaking. You have the athletic style breakers, and you also have the more artistic style breakers, and all of them are very valid. But of course, there's been a portion of very angry and, you know, awful responses. Not only attacking me, but attacking my husband, attacking my crew, attacking the breaking and street dance community in Australia, my family. The energy and vitriol that people had was pretty alarming.
In the aftermath of your performance, it got pretty wild, actually. There were all kinds of conspiracy theories going on.
Gunn, who set up her own governing body for breakdancing, has manipulated the selection process.
Ray Gunn's husband was the judge that got her through.
The coach of the national team and the team selector.
Unsurprisingly, they run a qualifier that gets 15 entrants, and Ray Gunn is selected.
An online petition gathered more than 50,000 signatures questioning her selection and calling for an investigation.
How did you feel when you saw those?
Yeah, the conspiracy theories were just awful. That was upsetting because it wasn't just people that, you know, didn't understand breaking and were just angry about my performance. It was people that are now attacking our, you know, our reputation and our integrity. And look, you know, none of them were grounded in any kind of facts. And obviously, you know, they're still circulating. People still don't believe the truth, but we do live in a different world now. So I think that's just going to be part of, you know, our reality, unfortunately.
That misinformation has been addressed by the AOC, by Ausbreaking, by the World Dance Sport Federation. But let's hear it from you. How did you qualify for the Paris 2024 Olympics?
I won the Oceania Championships.
As simple as that?
Yeah, it was a direct qualifier. Yeah.
And did you know anyone who was involved in making the selection or any of the judges?
There were 9 judges, all from overseas. I don't think any of them have judged anything that I'd been in before. I was, you know, super nervous about it, to be honest, because even though I'd won all these competitions in Australia, I was nervous about winning this one because it was all new judges.
Well, one of those judges from New Zealand was speaking actually in your defence in explaining what had happened, and he said this.
All us judges talked about how she was going to get smashed, absolutely smashed.
I mean, it's fairly stark. Did you know it was going to be rough?
Yeah, I knew my chances were slim. As soon as I qualified, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because I knew that I was going to get beaten, and I knew that people were not going to understand my style and what I was going to do. I wanted to bring out some Australian moves and themes. You know, I love our Olympic mascot, BK, the boxing kangaroo, and I wanted to show that. And that's the wonderful thing about breaking. You can take inspiration from any source. I had to go with what I was good at. I had to go with my strengths. So, you know, we had, in the judging criteria, you've got execution, technique, originality, vocabulary, so range and repertoire of movement, and musicality. And so I thought I'd focus on these last 3. But it just wasn't enough to tip the scales. You know, the odds were against me, that's for sure.
A lot of the breaking community seems to have fallen in behind you. You won it fair and square, you're one of theirs. There was, however, some criticism from that community. I think it's fair to give you the chance to respond to it. So these, for example, are quotes from a breaker and a bit of a hip-hop legend in Australia called Spice, who says, I feel like it's just pushed our scene in Australia into the dark ages. It made a mockery of the Australian scene, and I think that's why a lot of us are hurting. In hip-hop, we have this thing. You step up or you step off. You need to know your place. Is there any merit in those criticisms?
Yeah, look, it is really sad to hear those criticisms. And I am very sorry for, you know, the backlash that the community has experienced, but I can't control how people react. Unfortunately, we just need some more resources in Australia for us to have a chance to beat world champions. You know, historically, unfortunately, we haven't had the best track record of winning world championships. So, you know, I don't think that's just on me. But in the last year, I have trained my hardest. I have trained so hard. Learning power moves in your mid-30s is not easy. Let's just say that. So I have really, you know, put my body through it, put my mind through it. So, you know, but if that's not good enough for someone, what can I say?
Well, you're an academic and you write in this area. And in one of your papers, actually, you wrote about how breaking is something that emerges from marginalised communities, especially racially marginalised ones, and that the danger is when you turn it into a sport, you can actually end up excluding those very communities. Now, there have been some people who've noted that, you know, this turned into an Olympic sport. Australia puts up a B-girl and it ends up being a white woman instead of someone from those marginalised communities. Do you think there is an irony there that's fair to comment upon?
Yeah, look, it's there's a number of white B-girls in Australia, actually. I don't know what it is about us white women and being attracted to breaking. So, you know, I think even if it went to the second or third, it still would have been a white B-girl representing. I don't know, like when the Olympics, you know, when it was announced that we had the Oceania qualifier, there was a lot of people in the scene personally reaching out to people to get them to sign up, you know, and to get them involved. That's something that we're always reflecting on. How can we get more people into breaking? That's something that we're always thinking about, to be honest.
Right, sure. Do you genuinely think you are the best female breaker in Australia?
Well, I think my record speaks to that. You know, I was the top-ranked Australian B-girl in 2020 and 2022 and 2023. I've been invited to represent at how many World Championships, Paris, Korea, you know, so the record is there, but anything can happen in a battle. You know, it's always about what happens on the day. That consistency shows, you know, my level, so.
All right, take me to that closing ceremony when all your fellow Olympians got around you.
It was just crazy. Like, I was feeling pretty anxious that day. You know, it was all kind of affecting me a bit more and was weighing on me a bit more, and I wasn't sure if I was even going to go to the closing ceremony, and it was just so nice to have the support of all the other Olympians there, and they really, you know, supported me. They understood, you know, that I went out there and I gave it my all. And it wasn't just like, we support you. It was like, you're a legend, let's have fun, you know, let's celebrate. And then someone's like, do the kangaroo. And so we were doing it. I never thought that would happen. Like, oh my gosh, totally wild. And the Australians were just all cheering. And that was just like, it so warmed my heart.
The irony of this is that you are perhaps the most famous Olympian of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games worldwide. I mean, is there an upside to all this?
The upside is you get random people contacting you that you never thought would ever notice you. You know, and it's not just like breakers that you've respected for, you know, a decade. It's someone like Sir Richard Branson calling you to say that he enjoyed your performance and he thought that it was plucky and courageous and fun.
and, you know, he would love to, you know, do something with me and have me on some cruises with Boy George. Like, what is life? I don't know.
Do you think there's any more breaking in your future?
I don't think I'll be competing for a while. Not really wanting to be in the spotlight, breaking, competing. But you know, it's been nice. Like, it's been a bit of a process to try and start dancing again. That's actually been tough. You know, it was my medicine and then it turned into my source of stress. So I'm really happy that it gets to go back to being my medicine. I can kind of finally feel free again. So it's, yeah, I'm looking forward to breaking, but no, I don't think I'll compete for a while.
Yeah. You speak of the positives, though, of the experience. Those positives, do you think they're the things that are going to pull you through?
Yeah, I'll survive. I'm all right. The positives are just amazing.
I would rather much focus on the positives out of this and the positive responses and the joy that I've brought people. It's going out there and just having fun and going as hard as you can in the face of, you know, losing.
Sweat the technique.